What was different at the Kassam Stadium? 2 goals. You wait all month for 1 and 2 come along at once. We're going to talk about what was different, the performance against Oxford, and we're looking at the wonders of Peart-Harris, who starts against Burnley, and which current Swansea player deserves a firework up their backside to get their season lit up. But we've got 3 very happy Swans this week. Of course, we're recording this before the midweek fixtures, so we don't know exactly how that's gone, of course. So we're ignoring a disaster this midweek. Rich, what was different about that Oxford setup?
Well, we scored. So, yeah, no, it's a great feeling to have finally get a goal, and you can see it in the players straight away. They look much more confident. A big monkey off the back. And Vipotnik as well, a striker scoring is really key. And it was a real striker's goal. Lovely ball into the box. Just play it into the box. We haven't been doing that. We've been not just teasing it round and been in there. Give the striker a chance, he'll score. So, fantastic.
He deserves that, doesn't he, as well, for some of his efforts?
I think so, yeah. I think so.
Sounded confident. James, what for you? Who for you made the difference? We'll talk about Peart-Harris in a minute, but who else?
You're on mute, mate.
You muted, my friend. He's waited all this time to talk about a goal, and then we can't hear it. No.
I was going to say Ronald. Ronald looks back to his sharp best again. He's been miles off at the beginning of the season, but it looked like the Ronald that we had last season at the Kassam on Saturday. So it was nice to see him back to his best, loads of energy, actually delivering and getting an assist. I think it's his first in 33 games.
Is that right? My goodness.
The second in 33.
Wow.
Wow.
Jimmy, let's have a look at some social media takes from it. Started to forget what scoring feels like. Hopefully the curse has now been lifted. Well done, Swans. Top half of the table feels so much better than the bottom. The goal from Bianchini was a proper striker's finish. He's definitely not a winger, that lad. We've been here before. I think we've definitely. And now let's talk about Peart-Harris. So, not a name that's come up a lot in our discussions, but was that the best? Was that the best game you've seen him in a Swansea shirt, Jimmy?
Yeah, 100%. I don't even think anything comes close. He was struggling. You could see it in the first few games. You know, as a young kid, he's not got any experience at this level, really. Comes in, he struggles a bit in the centre, plays a bit more central. He played up front a bit and it wasn't working. Put him out wide against Oxford, and fair play, he was unbelievable all game. You know, taking on his man, creating the chances. You know, the final ball could have been a bit better, but apart from that, I can't really fault him. Really unlucky header off the bar as well in the first half. So, yeah, 100% his best performance for us. And I think hopefully that'll kick him on now and he'll start to get better and better as the weeks go
on. And the Oxford curse lifted, Rich, as well. You were saying last week you'd never win at Oxford, but you do now.
Yeah, and to be fair, there were sides come up and they tried to play it round. They had a good few chances themselves. But I think that's one of those games you look at and you think, you know, we should be winning those games. And we put a good performance in. You know, we had a go and we played well. And like you said, touched on Bianchini. His finish showed a player who was actually looking a bit of confidence there. Took a touch, had a shot, scored, put it right in the corner. It was a really good goal. So there's a lot more to come from him. And we do forget the players are very young, a lot of them. So we expect a lot from players straight away, new signings. So perhaps we have been a bit critical so far this season. I think the one thing I will say, took one thing for us to start scoring. The anger of Jerry Yates getting his first of the season. It's all started going well now.
Yeah, you missed me winding James up about that last week. What about Key, James? Man of the match, I think. Certainly man of the match on most polls that have seen. What did you make of his performance?
Probably one of his best. I think we really saw the best of him last season prior to his injury, and that looked like him when he first signed for us. If he can keep that form up, he'll be incredible. And I think now that we've signed Cyrus Christie as well, you had a lot of people saying we could maybe look to push him forward, maybe play Christie in behind him, and he's potentially another option that we've got that we can play out wide on the right as well.
Yeah, there's more questions later on, but I'll ask you now about that. Were you surprised at that signing?
No, not really, to be honest. Because he's been training with us for a couple of weeks. I do question whether it's the right signing because, like I said, our troubles are more at the top end of the pitch rather than conceding goals. But as I said, you can potentially push Key further forward if that's something that we were looking to do. But no, always glad to have someone like him back. He was great the first time we had him there, so glad to have him for the rest of the season.
Absolutely. And just a word on Franco, Jimmy, as well.
I love him. He's unbelievable. It's every game now. I don't think he ever will put in a bad performance, but especially in that Oxford game, it's just ridiculous. The way he can get the ball outside of his own box, he can drive up the pitch and create that chance for Bianchini and then score. It's just 3 little things he has to do, and it's a goal. So I love him. I think he's unbelievable, and he's literally getting better every week, and I didn't think that was actually possible based off his first 3 performances.
Absolutely. When Sky Sports finally got the feed working, thank you, Sky, I managed to watch your game, and I was very impressed with you guys. I thought it was a very professional performance. Were you worried, though, when they finally started playing on 80 minutes, Rich, that for as good as you have been defensively, I did think you looked a little bit wobbly at the back?
Well, we've been here before so many times. So, yeah, you concede one and then everything goes to pan and then you kind of desperately defend and the blocks go in and everything. But, yeah, it happens in football, doesn't it? Team scores, gets up for it, and you just got to see the game out. And I thought we'd done that very well, to be honest, to get the 3 points.
Okay. Right. Let's leave Oxford alone then until you see them on the last day of the season, that is, of course. November's upon us. Let's have a look at where we are in terms of our fixtures then, because we can't comment on the Watford result. Hopefully it's not 6-2 as in their last away performance. Burnley this week, which we will talk about in a second. And then is this break going to come at a good time for you, James? Given a couple of niggles some players might have, or is it going to slow any momentum that you might have built, do you think?
I think, to be fair, it probably will come at the right time. Again, facing a side like Leeds, it's always nice to have a little bit of a break beforehand. Hopefully, Tjoe-A-On will be back by then as well. I think it's nearly been 6 weeks since he got his injury, so that does work in our favour a little bit. And hopefully, Williams can do his homework on Leeds and we can have a better performance against them this season because they took us to town twice last year.
Yeah. And then we've got the Jerry Yates derby, and then we've got the whole home game against Pompey to finish off the month with. So, there's points to be grabbed here, Jimmy, isn't there? When you look at some of these fixtures.
Yeah, I'm not all too keen with that Burnley and Leeds back to back. To be honest, if we do build any momentum from Watford, I fear that's going to be killed off very quickly. But Derby and Pompey are 2 winnable games. Luckily Jerry Yates can't play against us, which means you can't score against us, so that's always something. But I think if you look at that, you probably need to be getting, you probably need to at least beat Watford, maybe draw as well. I'd probably take it. Burnley and Leeds, I could probably write them off, but the other 2, we probably need to win them to sort of keep us in the top half of the table, because with teams like Millwall pushing up to 7th in the league, it just shows you that this is not a very good league this year. And there is a chance of us pushing up to that top 6 berth if we can just score some goals and keep some form going, because there's some bad teams above us, I'll be honest.
Okay. I've got to say, you stopped Mark Harris from scoring as well, didn't you? Which I'm sure you must have been nicely pleased about. Let's have a look at the Burnley game then. In terms of the squad, let's put the starting 11 up there. Rich, this is a starting 11, of course, against Oxford, so lots of things will have happened potentially before we get to Burnley. But do you make any changes to a winning side?
Well, I think we're kind of lumped with the players we've got in a certain way. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but with a couple of injuries as well, like you'd lost Fulton and lost Cooper. So in the centre of midfield, particularly 3 guys there, you'd guess would be maybe playing, but I'm not sure who'll turn up at Watford. Seen Joe Allen twice in a week in a few days. Don't think that'll happen. So there might be a bit of change. Cullen probably come back in midweek, and then you guess that those 3 perhaps back for the weekend. But it's hard to say, and this will test us really hard the next couple of weeks, really, because we have got that paper thin amount of players. So, but you play with what you got, and we're playing very well. It weren't scoring the goals, but the guys are there. And I'm sure we can get some sort of good few points in the next few weeks.
Cheers, Rich. How does he set up against Burnley, James, because what we know about Burnley so far is that they have had nearly all the possession in all their games so far, apart from Leeds away, which is one they won. But their XG is one of the lowest in the league, so that tells you everything you need to know about perhaps how Williams should set this up.
I would say just press them every time they get the ball. We've done it really well against Bristol City early on in the season. If they've got a low XG, try and press them from the start when they're in possession. Try and nick that first goal. Because they're very similar to us. Once they go behind, you don't really fancy them scoring afterwards. So I just think with that one, just be as aggressive as we can out of possession.
Absolutely. Jimmy?
Yeah, I pretty much agree. I think I'd probably give them a bit more freedom as well on the ball than we normally give teams, because we do obviously like to dominate the possession, but they don't tend to do anything with the ball. So I think if you just keep that press up and just sort of let them have their freedom at the back, mistakes will come out of them. I don't think Scott Parker's a very good manager. I think most Burnley fans would probably agree with me. Just his tactics are all over the place at the minute. You know, they just lost to Millwall. Granted, so did we, but obviously not in the same fashion as what they did. I think just press, let them have their freedom, and then when the chance comes, just try and take it.
Okay, all right then. Enjoy your trip to Burnley. It's a bit of a trek, isn't it, on a Sunday? This week has been Bonfire Night. We're asking you which player needs a rocket more than any others. Rich, who for you season hasn't lit up yet?
It would have been Ronald before the weekend, and I still think it is Ronald. He's got to really be performing more consistently, getting those balls in the box. We've seen what can happen from the other side this weekend. That left-hand side now needs to be balls in now. You've got the impetus there. Get those strikers some goals and win some games then. Simple as that.
Okay. I knew that answer was coming. Jimmy?
Yeah, I think I have to agree, to be honest, because I can't really think of anyone else who's been particularly poor. Maybe Cullen just needs a goal desperately. I don't know if necessarily, I'm not saying he's been bad, but he just cannot score for the life of him. It'd probably be the same with Vipotnik before Oxford, but Cullen get his goal, and hopefully Ronald can kick on now, because he's been pretty shocking since basically the tail end of last season. But I was happy to see him sort of, as James said earlier, back to his sort of best self, and hopefully now that will be the rocket up his backside to sort of say, yeah, let's get on with it now and play back to how I was playing before.
Yeah, Ronald's a funny one. I remember when you signed him in January, when Rich and James were here talking about him, and his those early performances from him. You were, when you come in on here, talking about like he was Ronaldo on times, weren't you? But gosh, yeah, is he the sort of player, do you think, that just likes to be the number one in a club?
It's hard to say, really. You know, you don't know how much of the language barrier is affecting him as well, because he's still learning the English, obviously. And it's a different team. A few players have come and gone. Confidence is obviously an issue if you're not really getting the results you want. So it's many factors, but a winning team you're surely going to improve in.
Absolutely. All right, James, finish this off then for us.
For me, it's Florian Bianchini, because we've only really seen what he's got in very small cameos. And when he did get a lot of minutes, he wasn't all that impressive. So he's shown that he's obviously capable on the weekend now, and he's just got to replicate that on a consistent basis, especially now that we've lost Cooper. Tjoe-A-On is still out, so he really has to step up now and prove that he's worth that, $2 million price tag that we allegedly paid for him.
All right, good shouts. Can you better any of those? Drop us a comment below if you can. Right, well, enjoy your weekend and enjoy the midweek games. We'll see you in 7 days' time to review it all over again. Thank you very much for watching. Drop us a subscribe if you haven't done so already. And James, Jimmy, and Rich will see you next week.